All right, let's do this. Okay. Well, nothing goes as planned. What is that saying? I forgot who said it too. The best laid plans don't survive contact with the enemy. I think that's the expression. We are if you watched yesterday's morning commute, you notice that I'm kind of like going through, I really am going through like a crisis here. Crisis? Did I say that right? It feels like it sounds wrong and stuttering. Crisis. I'm a being in crisis. And it's not something that can be like instantly resolved. The problem is that I'm broken. I'm not 100%, and I have to be careful that when I do things like this, it's not from the hip. It's well thought out. It's the reason why when people were saying what are you doing? You're instantly leaving freaking Discord. And it's like going, dude, I should have left Discord in October. I thought they were going to fix the problem. I legitimately gave them the benefit of the fucking doubt. And I did not quit Discord over the ID. The ID was just kind of like the F you to me. And it wasn't like Discord was doing it personally to me. They weren't basically, saying fuck you and all the stuff he's working on. They weren't doing that. They're doing it to everybody. If you've bought Nitro on Discord, they have your personal information, your banking information, they have everything. They don't need an adult checker if they have that information. The problem is that information that you don't have to give them. Yeah, that information that you do not have to give them is being put into another place and less secure than before. Now, they haven't fixed the problem that they had. They had a huge breach of people's personal information. And most people don't know how their money's being spent. Most people don't even have a fucking clue. I'm fortunate, and they did say it was people who own servers on Discord. Those are the ones that were the breach attacked, because most of them already have Nitro. I'm just one of the few idiots that never got Nitro. But they got more of my personal information than I wanted to give. And that's where it all boils down to. I haven't really talked about that, because I talk about it as my own personal choice. Everybody needs to make those choices themselves. But if you think that them having your personal information is okay, then I don't see anything wrong with somebody using Discord. But be aware that it's purposeful ignorance, deliberate ignorance. I don't know what you would call that. Whatever you would call a flat earther, who basically ignores all of the science and everything that's being talked to him, how gravity works, how freaking math works, how celestial bodies work. Ignores all of that stuff just to say that the earth is fucking flat. I don't know what you would call that. But if somebody said that, Discord is good, I can't adhere to that. And it's like I said, they're not being stinky butts just to me. They're being stinky butts to everybody. And they're just hoping you don't notice. Now that said, when I talk trash about both YouTube and Twitch, which are the platforms that I use don't use Instagram, I don't use TikTok, I don't use any of those other platforms. Which, just so you know, when I looked into them, they're awful. They're absolutely awful. But that's a side point. When I do talk about, when I basically shit talk the platforms I stream on, I'm not just shit talking. I'm basically trying to be at a level of where I see it. And if I see it wrong, because I've been wrong, I would like to correct that. But just because I get one or two things wrong does not mean the whole thing's freaking bullshit. You got to tear the whole thing down, not just a part. This isn't like a tapestry where you pull one string and the whole thing falls apart. No, this is layer upon layer upon layer of how awful this is. And all you have to do is just agree with one thing, and basically, where do you find the compromise? Where do you find, what will work for you? I'm really at a loss on that. And it does boil down, when somebody says it's not about money, it does boil down to the money, because that's what they dangle. They try to pay as little as fucking possible to do as they want your money to go as what do you call, Yeah, they don't want your money value to have. They want your money value to be very little, so that you give more, thinking that eventually your money will have value to them. Because that's all they want is your money. I mean, it really does boil down to it. Everything that Twitch does is about making money, getting people to spend money. That's the entire thing. It has nothing to do with the content. They leave that up to the creators. They don't give a shit what the content is. They really don't. Are they making any money? And if they will ban people if they're losing money. It really does boil down. Those are the two. If all of the terms of services, everything that you do, if you look at what the meaning behind everything that they set the standard for, that's really what it is. When somebody was like going, oh my god, I can't believe they allow boobs on freaking Twitch. Of course they did. Boobs sells. Boobs makes money. And now they can demonetize the person for having the nudity and take all the money. Do you think that there's some censor board that's going through there saying oh no, you can't have this? No. Oh no, minors are watching this? No, there's none of that shit going on. That's why the age verification is such fucking bullshit. It's self-monitoring. They dictate the rules. The predators themselves, it's like the foxes are freaking dictating the rules to the world. To the hen house. This is how to keep your chicks safe. John Leguizamo said that a Latino freaking voting Republican is like a cockroach voting for Raid. It's some crazy shit. We're gonna hang out for a little bit, a few minutes even. All right. Talking about all that shit. It's just fucking bullshit. All I want to do is just connect. I think that's where I feel like I'm failing at streaming. And there's a few people that I connect to, and I have a variety, actually, not a few people, there's a lot of people that I connect to. I mean, obviously you've seen the bean circles, but it's like, I don't want to be a single serving connection. I don't want to be this, but I don't want them to take away. I mean, obviously I'm not taking away from my life, so I don't want them to take away from their life in having that connection. And maybe I should just see it for what it is. It is what it is. The short time that we have together, we spend it. And if we can't spend the time, we have to basically live our lives. And maybe I think is what I'm really saying is I want to disconnect and connect fully to this. And I can't do that. And I think that's really where my frustrations all lie. 3 rules of thumb. I've said this a bunch of times, so we'll say them again. Be happy with what you have. Nothing is impossible. And no matter how cool your cape is, you still can't fly. Those 3 rules. That's what I basically live by. And all this complaining and all this like worrying about what the corporations are trying to take and do and everything like that. Maybe that's the wrong approach that I have. And maybe it's what's holding me back. I can't worry about what they're doing. I can't worry about people who waste money and, feed the machine and do this stuff, because the people who feed the machine, obviously there's certain people who are, basically they blow up. And I don't want to blow up. I don't want to. I want to do this without feeding the machine. And I'm trying to figure out how that nothing is impossible fits into that. The truth of the matter is I'm doing it. See what time it is. Yeah, we can get going. Why not? How all of that fits in. And even putting that aside, here I am doing these animated emotes, and maybe I'm over challenging myself. Maybe I've really bitten off more. Maybe I've really bitten off more than I'm able to accomplish in the time frame that I'm trying to do it. I think it's definitely possible, because nothing's impossible. I think it's definitely possible for me to do it. I think I will accomplish it. I have dakimakuras that are just basically sitting doing nothing. I have 3 that I've mostly finished, and I just could not get myself back into doing it, because the thing with the dakimakuras is that they were extremely challenging at first. I was kind of overwhelmed with trying to create the anime style and not interject my own way of doing things, plus using the experience that I have with doing art and doing crazy shit. It was definitely, like I said, it was hugely challenging at first. And I think after I finished the 20th dakimakura, I don't see the challenge anymore. I sat there. I literally sat there with a template of a freaking fish scale and copied and pasted and moved it and then rotated it and changed it and turned it and did all these things. And it took me, as far as time, because it took me like 3 weeks to do. As far as time wise, it probably took me like 30 hours, maybe even a little bit longer, to get all that done. And what have I accomplished from that? Nothing. I've accomplished nothing from it. The challenge part of it seems to be done. I don't feel challenged. It's just kind of like the grunt work that I don't like. I really have never liked doing. When my Potteroos were hugely popular, when I had people actually asking for Potteroo, make me a Potteroo. When I've had people asking for it, right? And just so you know, that set the tone. It's a art style that's not mine. It's something that's already been created, something that already exists in the world, and all I did was just basically recreate it. I had to figure out how to spin that. And it's still the same style, still the same thing. But because of the popularity of it, I was able to make a bunch of them, and it kind of fed me to make more and more and more. But I'm going to be really realistic with you. They're kind of boring to make. They're not challenging, and they're not mine. Yes, I did not trace anything. Yes, I created all the templates myself. Yeah, I did all of that. And I could go back right now with what I know about animating emotes and completely change it. I could completely change the Potteroo to where not only are they spinning at a really high rate, it's all different. It's an actual movement. The bag will do things. It will spin around. I could make lumps in the bag, like it's actually filled with something other than just being like a water sack, which is pretty much what I drew. Like there's boxes and maybe a bicycle or two in there, some rounded edges and some square edges, sharp edges. I could do that with what I know now. my Spider-Man kiss emote. Oh my god, I can freaking fix that like you wouldn't believe. I could really do a lot with it. And the sad thing about it is the Spider-Man emote, I was going with, making just black eyes when they're blinking. But I can actually shrink that whole thing down. I can actually make it blink. I can give it emotion. I can do a lot now. And the only reason that I haven't done stuff like that right just yet, one is like I'm so enamored with my current emotes, because I still have a whole mess of them that I want to do. Crazy amount of them what I want to do, because I'm still coming up with new ideas and new things to emote. Yeah, I was thinking of doing like an off with the head, and I say like lots of stuff. I could go into a stream. I can go into somebody else's stream tomorrow and come up with 7 different animated emotes to make for myself, so that I can have a reaction for everything. But somebody even told me, they're like, I can't believe you did so many Spider-Man emotes. And it's like, I did 2. And they're identical to the original one that I made for Halloween. I was going to make one that is I was going to make an emote. Well, I was going to make an animated gift that took up the entire screen and had spider beam swinging and going all over the place and unrestricted. The problem with that is it would be huge. It would be ginormous. Shooting webs and things like that. I had a whole thing that I was planning to do. And maybe I'll get to it one of these days. Maybe. It was like was going to do pirates. I actually was going to have people at the wheel of a pirate ship, and to where the camera can go out and you can see the crew and people doing things. And I was literally going to build this whole thing. And it started with my lore video, which is a take on Eminem's The Real Slim Shady, called The Real Q Bean. That had I was dressing sets and, you know, making whole backgrounds and stuff like that. I mean, you know, my screensaver is the Toy Factory. Which I should update. I should update it with new people. But here's the thing that most people don't realize it. It's not like an image with things moving around. It's each individual thing. I think that was one of my most ambitious emotes. I had one where people were in Q costumes and they were lifting the head off. I actually made that. And I had a whole set. I had a whole insane asylum. The Nurse Bean, which is based on Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, that was created for that. I had no other reason to have a nurse thing. It was created for that. And I think what a lot of what I'm going through is like going, I really don't have time. I don't have time for any of it. And I eke out each individual time. It's like drawing the money on the bills, which is what I'm going to do tonight, just so everybody knows. The money emote that I made, I'm going to have actual dollar bills. The cool thing about it is I built it so that I can actually put other people in it. It doesn't have to be me. I built it for that. Here I am at stinky work again. We do what we do. And I forgot my drink. Yay me for thinking of this. If you guys have suggestions or things like that, I would love to have another project to do. If you want me to revisit an old project. Just so you know, I'm gonna be really honest with you. The 3 documakras that I haven't finished, none of them have asked for it. One of the 3 people is excited by the fact that I started it, but they kind of are indifferent about the actual project. I think that's mostly what happened to me. And then it boils down to, like, when I look back at all the other documakras I made, same thing. Nobody really was interested in them. There's nobody showed any fucking interest in them at all. If you go to my merch page, you'll see that I have documakras all over it. There's documakras everywhere, and I was like going, the tumbler glasses. I think it's time for them to go away. And nobody even says, like, nobody even cares. I can say I could blow away my entire merch page, and who's gonna miss it? Nobody. I've sold 1 item. And then before that, when I had the Stream Elements and the Streamlabs merch pages, I sold a handful of items. I actually was That's one of the reasons why the Fourth Wall merch page exists. Otherwise, it wouldn't. Cool beans in the comments below. Doesn't have to be cool beans. It can be whatever you want. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a fantastic time doing it. And I will talk to you later. We will do this again. All right. Bye.